And yes, we have dared to invite some Dutch people. So he's Dutch, regardless of what happened in the Eurovision Song Contest. So we are bold. Michiel Boreel, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Therese. So for some reason, Therese, those coat de buffs that we shared doesn't show at you, but it does share at me. It does show at me. I think I've gained 20 kilos because of that. Eurovision Song Contest, I can be short about it because what else could we expect from the Swedish after the treason of 1672, when you had this secret treaty with the English and the French to drop us. And we thought that we had a deal that you would help us against the French, but you dropped us. So then the song contest, it's just another
payback
thing, right?
time.
So, yeah. So I'm really happy to be here and share with you our latest vision, our ideas around generative AI. But maybe it's good that we explain a little bit where we're coming from. The last 30 years or so, I have spent trying to understand technological progress. And of course, we as technologists, as engineers, we are fascinated by these, for instance, this list of the 30 technologies that will have an impact in the next decade. But what we always try to do, together with Menno and with Sander, who isn't here, we always try to ask the question, but what lies beyond? Right? Because technology for technology's sake can only go so far. But we always want to answer this question, what lies beyond, by looking at the socio-economic impact of technology. What does it actually change? What does it mean? By looking at younger generations about how they are adopting it. And then, of course, how they are adopting it will change their behavior, it will change their values, and more importantly, it will change their expectations. And then in response to that, organizations have to change. So it's always that technology changes behavior, and then in response to the changed behaviors, organizations need to transform. So that's basically the red line through the 30 years of doing research. And then, of course, in that research, we share that research through presentations like this, but we also write a lot of reports. So this is just a selection of the reports that we have written in the last 10 years. And then more recently, we have been writing about AI since 2015, 2016, and about generative AI already in 2019. Continued with a book called Real Fake, which Menno will discuss a little bit about. And then two of the latest reports. The first is the rise of the experience ecology, and the second one is the great AI experiment. And basically the two reports, they belong to each other under this overall theme of scarcity and abundance. And to kick us off today, let me explain a little bit what it is all about. So there are two experiments running, as we say, at this time. And we are all the guinea pigs in these experiments. The first experiment is already almost 200 years old. It started with the Industrial Revolution, and that's the experiment of economic growth. And in our report, we will show that that experiment is running on its last legs. We're starting to see the first barriers, the boundaries of where economic growth can take us. And interesting enough, the Netherlands might be the first country in the world that is actually hitting those barriers. That the end of economic growth, or how possible economic growth is happening. But it's an experiment that has gone on for 200 years. Before that, there was hardly any economic growth. The only economic growth was in parallel with the population growth. But the economy didn't grow at all. The second experiment was launched in November of 2022, when OpenAI decided against their previous ideas to launch us all in this experiment of generative AI. And then they actually called it a social experiment, right? They knew that the technology was not yet ready that we didn't solve all the ethical security issues involved, but they launched it anyhow, just to see how we would respond as a society. And what we will be doing today is looking at those two experiments, but then combining them with our most important challenge, to see whether this scarcity that we have in everything, but especially in the ecology, whether we can solve it with technology. And then that's where Menno is going to discuss this first report, The Rise of the Experience Ecology, in quite some depth, where we basically look at the two schools. So scarcity and abundance, it's all about the school of the eco-modernists. Many of those are probably here in the room because typically technical people, engineers, are tended that technology will solve any problem that we have, and so this time around it will also solve any problem. So we have this eco-modernist, and against that there is the eco-socialists, or the degrowth movement, that basically tells us, well, listen, technology won't be enough to solve our sustainability issues. We have to go into a social revolution, as they call it. We have to change our behavior, we have to stop over-consuming, and we have to actually degrowth our economy to give the developing nations a chance to reach our same level of prosperity as we have. So that's I think the paradox or the tension that we will discuss today. With that, I give the word back to Teresa. You hear later from me when we're diving into AI.
Perfect. Thank you.